You have the program.
All right, thank you. It's my pleasure to introduce today's guest is President Greg Crawford. And it's been a really challenging year, but there have also been some great achievements and highlights. And Greg's pleased to have the opportunity to update all of you on what's been going on Miami's campuses.
Well, great. Well, thank you. I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if it works. Okay. Uh-oh, there we go. All right, let me go ahead and try it this way here. Is that me making the noise or?
No, that's people entering the room.
Oh, okay. All right, let me go ahead and do this. Here we go. Share screen. Still working on it. Hang on. Sorry about that.
Please take your time. This is routine for us.
Yeah. Hey, Ted, I'm having trouble with sharing screen. Let me see here. Basic.
Sounds like the screen share gremlin was out this morning.
Yeah. So, well, here comes Ted. You want to try to see if you can help me?
Yeah.
Okay. So go share screen.
Share screen.
Yeah. And then there's no PowerPoint, but it's right there. Right there. Okay, I'll just have to talk through it.
Well, or email it to me and I'll put it up on through.
Okay, alrighty. Okay, give us one more second. I'll start talking, or Ted's going to help me out here. Okay. I got all kinds of stuff coming up when I'm trying to do this here, so. Okay. All right, Ted's going to share it for us, but I'll go ahead and get started. First, thanks for having me today. I know we've been kind of hunkered down now, and it's just it's been, a little over a year since we had those first two possible cases in Oxford on campus in late January of 2020. And then you remember they ended up being both negative, but we had all kinds of press and everything was going on for a week. And at that time we had to send samples to the CDC, and it took a good solid week to get those results back. And then today, over a year later, we have, right now we're about 50,000 cases a year or higher in the country. And we saw it reach about 300,000 cases and so forth. And Ohio is through its peak as well. So right now, we're actually doing pretty well, and I think everyone on campus, quite frankly, is ready to get back to in person. And I'll give you some examples of what we're doing in classes as well this year. But I think after a year of doing all this, almost a year of doing the remote stuff, I think we're ready to get back. So in any event, I thank you for giving me this time to present to you today. And what I'm going to do is go through a couple of things with all those challenges, and I'll kind of give you our COVID update as well. But a lot of extraordinary things happen from the hard work of students, faculty, and staff here at Miami, and alums that I wanted to actually share with you today. And so if Ted's ready to go there. Oh my gosh, it's working on his end. What do you? Okay. All right, so there's the snow picture. We'll go to the next slide. All right, so I'm going to go through a couple of things today. I'm going to do a university updates. Those are our general updates. And essentially, You know, with all the stuff going on COVID, not a lot of visibility came out to some of the great things that went on here. So I'm going to elevate those to you today so you can see that. I'm going to show you enrollment and applications. That's a big question in higher ed this year. Were your applications up this year or were they down? And it can split both ways depending on the institution. The academics and schedule, and I'm show you what we're doing in the classroom there. And then fundraising campaign, we made a lot of progress in 4 years. And then a little bit on finance and budget and some things that we're doing there. So a big thank you to all visiting today so you can hear the story. But next slide, Ted. So first on the visibility piece, in the fall of 2020, we had a lot of national awards that we won. The big one, which we're super proud of, is the HEED Award, which is the Higher Education Excellence and Diversity Award. It's the biggest diversity organization, and it's the biggest award in higher ed. You went forward one, Ted. It's the biggest award in higher ed it's still going forward, that an institution can achieve. And so let me see what's going on here. Oh, there it goes. Back one. All right. And then at the same time, for years, we've had this program on campus called Lsamp. It's the Lewis Stokes Alliance for Minority Participation. And it's for underrepresented groups that come and study the STEM disciplines at Miami. And we have a National Science Foundation grant. But again, we won the award for that for one of the most inspiring programs in STEM in the country because of our diversity there. So that was welcome news. And then the big news on the entrepreneurship side, I know you've heard about this now for 13 consecutive years. We are always in the top 10 institutes for entrepreneurship around the country. Well, this past year, we won the Nasdaq Award. And so that is the highest achieving award you can get for an entrepreneurship center and so forth. And so Nasdaq awards it out once a year. And then now we're in the company of Berkeley and Stanford, MIT, Cornell, Columbia, and Babson. And so we're very excited about that. And then our Navy ROTC unit, they've been exceptional for a long time, and they were recognized with the Navy ROTC Excellence Award that one goes out in the country only a year, and it comes from the Secretary of Defense. And so we celebrated their accomplishments. And then one of our statisticians, along with a journalist, faculty, and so forth, they won the Stats and Stories Mathematical Communication Award for conveying how statistics and math is presented and getting it down to the general population and how they can understand it through storytelling. And then our Work Plus program at the regionals, that's the program that's totally debt-free. So we have many company partners, and then what the company partners do is they take a student for 24 hours a work week, they pay them a salary, and then they reimburse tuition. And so you get a salary and all your tuition's reimbursed if you get a C or better. And more importantly, if you graduate, you can have 4 years of work experience. And so what was neat about that was actually piloted here at Miami, and it was signed into law by Governor Mike DeWine to have it disseminated to other universities around the state of Ohio. So we were very excited about that. So next slide. And then national rankings. So our esports program, which is very new, like everyone's esports programs, was #2 in the country. We were at, again, top 7, number 7th in public entrepreneurship rankings in Entrepreneurship magazine. Top 20 for return on investment on our online programs. Top 20 best business plan competition. That was the first time we made that one. And then top 100 Sierra Club. We're the coolest school in America. They name 100 schools. And so that's kind of a neat one to have. So that was in the fall. But then just recently in 2021, the last 6 weeks or so, we had a lot of great stuff that came in. They ranked the best school in each state for return on investment. And Miami Hamilton was #1 in Ohio. So they picked 50 out of the country, lined them all up with all public institutions to see who got the best return. And so that was a great award. Our engineering management degree, which is more timely than ever. We need good, strong technical management out there in a lot of the high-tech world and robot proofing and Industry 4.0. And so we're top 20 there. And then the confined business degree was also ranked 19th. And that means you can go get your physics bachelor's degree and your physics master's all at once. And so that was top ranked. And And our accessibility for a wheelchair campus was acknowledged as top 20 in the country. And so that was exciting. And then the school, the Farmer School of Business, top 20 undergraduate business schools in the country. It was in the top 17 for top public schools, public universities. And so that was a great ranking, and that continues to keep increasing. So we're very happy with that. And then a record year. So last year in 2019, 2020, we had a record year in external research funding, about 27 million. We're up over 50% than we were in 2017. We have a new VPR, a Vice President for Innovation and Research, and it's Alicia Needler. And there's a big focus on team and transdisciplinary post-award excellence, trying to facilitate more transdisciplinary and team grants. And if you look there on the right, Cricket Meehan, who's the director for our mental health-based programs in the Department of Psychology, won one of the biggest awards that we've ever won at Miami of $6 million, and that was just recently announced. So very exciting. And then our DEI task force, Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Task Force, with students, faculty, and staff, had 44 recommendations last fall, and in 5 areas: dialogue and allyship, cultural consciousness, advocacy and partnership, structure and resource support, and inclusion and accountability. And of those 44 recommendations, they've already completed 11, 31 are in progress, and we have 2 that are slated to get started in the future. And then some of the bigger ones, we created a $1.25 million Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Research Fund for faculty and staff. The Nellie Craig Walker building was named, the CAB building there was named after our first Black graduate here at Miami in 1906, and she was the first Black teacher, student teacher in the Oxford school system as well. And they're doing dialogue training, so we're sending folks to the University of Michigan for that. Weekly newsletter, so there's a lot of great things going on our DEI efforts. And then the upcoming virtual events, these are next week, but last year, then it was postponed to this year because of COVID, but the Associated Student Government, our student body president and vice president, and the diversity secretary proposed that we name the Western campus lobbies after the 3 young men who left here on the campus in '64 that were murdered down there in Philadelphia, Mississippi, for registering Black voters. And so Michael Schwerner, James Chaney, and Andrew Goodman will have their names on the lobby so that we will never forget their ultimate sacrifice and contributions to the civil rights movement. And so that'll take place next week. And then Nellie Craig Walker also, there's a fantastic, I hope you all can see it, but there's a wonderful video. And it's just a neat story because we didn't have in our database, because it was so long ago, the married name Walker. And so when we did the searches and all the ancestry.com, we couldn't find any relatives. Well, it made a lot of press around the country, and then her great-great-granddaughter saw it in Cleveland and called us up. And so the Walker family, she was married in, I think, 1911. And so we have the whole Walker family that'll be on this virtual this virtual dedication next week. You got to see it. It's an amazing story. And then the Wayne Embry statue. And so coming in April, in front of Millett Hall there, Wayne Embry, class of '58, had an extraordinary career in the NBA. He was a 7-time All-Star. He was the world champion in basketball with the Celtics, and he was the first COO, CEO, and general manager, Black general manager in the NBA. And so we're going to honor him with a statue in front of Millett Hall there, and we'll have the ceremony, and it probably will be in person as well, and also remote and online. But we'll do that, and it'll be a signature hook shot that he's done. And so right now, still he's in his 80s, and he's working with the Raptors, and they just won the national championship last year. But the funding came from the Cavs, the Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Gunn family, which is the Cavs family, for this project. And then our Carbon Action Task Force, it's a 17-member executive steering committee, and they're working on both a resiliency plan and a climate action plan. And so they're really moving forward quickly, looking at both physical facilities, our carbon footprint, energy dashboards, et cetera, and how to build on a foundation here at Miami that's pretty extraordinary. Started back over a decade ago with all the geothermal efforts. We no longer burn any coal whatsoever since 2017. We're below half of what we used in heating and cooling a decade ago, and we're far below any of our peers that we're compared with. And so we signed a pledge that we would go carbon neutral and build out a resiliency plan, and we're getting those dates now aligned with our committee. And university communications, just one thing, we got a brand new vice president, Jamie Hunt, in university communications, and one of the aspects of her efforts is really to get strategic placements of Miami faculty, staff, and students and thought leaders and get those stories out there. And so we've had all kinds of great luck. There's a few on the right there, but placements in Forbes and other top magazines, top websites, and so forth. So we're really trying to get that Miami expertise out there in the world a little bit more than we have in the past. And then the new effort, and so last September, we created a new office. It's the Office of Aspire, and it stands for Advancing Strategy, Partnerships, Institutional Relations, and Economy. And it's led by a new vice president, inaugural vice president, Randy Thomas. I think many people know Randy. He's been at Miami many years. He's a graduate. And what we're going to do there is that we have a building there on Elm Street, and it's been vacant. It was for food storage and food preparation long ago, and it's built really well. It's pretty wide open in terms of the space, and so it would make a great new incubator for companies and so forth. And a couple of things there, when you look at the big picture, we already provide Oxford with the Oxford Community Arts Center space, and it developed into something extraordinary. It's got that wonderful event space that we all know about, of course, and go there probably all the time. And we can't wait to get back there after COVID. But on the upper floors, there's a lot of sole proprietors and entrepreneurs in the creative space, photographers and musicians and painters and sculptors, etc. And so one of the aspects when they looked at cities and towns around the country that were more in rural communities or further away from big cities, they looked to see which of those towns and cities were successful and what elements contributed to that success. Well, it turned out that in addition to having a technology incubator and space for technology development, the creative part was also important. And so now we have phase one essentially with the Community Arts Center, and then phase two will be the renovation of this new building. And on the left there, the Fisher Group is a company in Hamilton that will be our anchor tenant. And they'll take up a lot of space in there. But what they do is they take an idea all the way through prototyping, design, manufacturing in the building, all the way to the market. And so we're really thankful that Al Fisher is the CEO and president. He's a retired Procter & Gamble engineer. So that's moving along forward. We got $1 million from the state so far. We have a $2 million request into Jobs Ohio, and we'll do other fundraising to finish this project out. But it's very exciting for us all. Next slide. And the facility update, there's a lot of stuff going on. So first, on the upper left-hand corner there, that's our Clinical Health Sciences building. It's on Campus Avenue. You've probably seen the orange fences all around down there. It's a big footprint, and it's going to house our nursing programs, our speech pathology and audiology. It's going to house Tri-Health student healthcare system there. It's going to help our speech and audiology clinic that we now run on a bachelor. And it's going to start, we're going to have all of our new programs in healthcare and allied healthcare in there. It's going to be a big building, 170,000 square feet, and we're very excited, and that's already started. And then down there on State Route 73, the Equestrian Facility, we're going to build an indoor one. And this came from an anonymous gift. And so we'll have a 40,000 square foot facility, indoor facility there for our students. And not many, I mean, many people know about the equestrian team because it's pretty nationally competitive on many fronts. And it's about 100 students, but not many people know that our students at Miami, over the 2 semesters in a given year, somewhere between 600 to 700 students take a riding course. And so a lot of people will be able to benefit from that new facility. And then on Talawanda, on the corner of Talawanda and High Street, East High, right behind the engineering building there's a big hole right now. And that'll be occupied by the new McVeigh Data Sciences building. Rick McVeigh, who's in FinTech in New York, a graduate of ours, provided the naming gift of $20 million to get that off and going. And so that'll also begin. So in addition to Elm Street, we have a lot of great buildings going up. And I think what's really great about it at this point in time is that we were able to still do this and continue on with our plan, even in the midst of the COVID crisis, and not retrench, but to really be resilient and move forward. And I think for for Butler County and also the city of Oxford, this is a lot of jobs. So we're creating a lot of jobs here where there's plumbers and electricians and developers and bricklayers and everything else that goes along with new construction. So we're very excited about the progress and can't wait to have these things kind of finish up. COVID planning updates. Next slide. We do a lot of testing, and so far so good. So our testing is move in. So every student that moved in, even off-campus students, were tested this year, this semester. Wide net testing takes into account a surveillance kind of strategy where we take saliva, which can be done very quickly in many, many samples a day. And then if it's positive, we confirm that with a rapid test, which takes about 15 minutes. And so we got a lot going on, from diagnostics all the way down, from diagnostic testing to surveillance testing. And so far, so good. We've been running at less than about 1% positivity rate, so really low. So I'm always knocking on everything that's wood and keeping my fingers crossed, but it's been pretty good so far this semester. And then our wastewater plan, we do some experimental work with wastewater as well on campus to check for the virus. And then spring vaccines, we're still not on campus into it yet. We're hoping for kind of a mid-March higher ed tranche of that, but we just don't know. And there's 2 vaccines that are already out there, which require 2 injections, and there's a J&J one coming, 1 injection. And so we will be a distribution center if they need us on campus. We do have the facilities to keep, in particular, the 1 vaccine very, very cold, and we have the refrigerator space for that. And then our committees, we have a lot of infrastructure going on. We have the Safe Return to Campus Committee. We have a vaccine team that's working on employees, students, and regionals once those vaccines come in. We continue to work with Butler County and then the Butler County Health District on the contact tracing. And then we have a quarantine isolation team and a testing team. And so there's a lot going on in the background, but a whole lot of Miamians are helping out here. And so it's been a great effort, and so far so good this semester. Enrollment and applications. And so the big question here is, there's a lot of numbers there I'll let you kind of look at, but there's a couple of takeaways here. We broke an all-time record on applications. So the best we've ever done in a year that we thought was going to be really tough. And so already we're just a little bit south of 10% over our record year, which was a few years ago. The big thing that you can see here is that everything is up across the board except one area, and that's international. So international remains to be about 20% down on applications. But you can see from domestic diversity to first gen to non-resident students or out-of-state students, everything is trending upward in sort of large ways. And so we're very excited about that, and we'll turn some more attention to yield on some of the international students because it plays a big role in our diversification of campus as well. And academic scheduling, a lot of cool things. If you look at the pie chart on the right, so we have classes that are fully face-to-face, which was whatever it was before COVID. It's just like it is today, about 13%. And then we have the so-called hybrid classes. And so those can come in many ways. For example, they may take a time slot and split it into 2, and then have 2 different groups coming in of the same class and just double teach it, just to get the social distancing and spatial distancing of the students. And so those are in-person components, but they're hybrid in terms of we split it up some way, shape, or form. So about 47% there have face-to-face components, and then a little bit over 50% are online. But we did a lot of push and emphasis on the online courses that they actually be taught live. And so we call that synchronous. And so it's a regularly scheduled live teaching versus the asynchronous, which is, do it whenever you want to do it at your own pace. Good things there. The class portfolio is nearly half of the classes have in-person components. The course evaluations of last semester came out very strong, even higher than the year before in non-COVID. The GPA of students, there may be reasons for this, probably is, but was higher than the non-COVID years. We incorporated a few wellness days, of which one is today. So we skipped spring break and we're doing the wellness days today. And our strategic planning is going along, as I mentioned, on the buildings. And a couple of other big things taking place are the Honors College, which will launch in next fall in 2021 here. And then also the Global Miami Plan is going through a kind of a renovation. There'll be 3 pillars in our liberal arts core global Miami plan. One will be on foundational areas, STEM, humanities, social sciences. The second will be on sort of signature inquiries, sustainability, diversity, equity, and inclusion, those big ideas of our time. And the third will be knowledge and action, which is research, scholarship, creative inquiry, those things that you do as a student, but more independent, and to really be an architect of your future. So a lot of great things going on there. Fundraising. So we started the campaign 2016. And so come this summer, we'll be 5 years into it. And right now we're just pushing up almost a 450 million raised so far. And this year we've already got in 54.1 million, which is, we're gonna beat last year's as well record. And so I think with some of the incentives for giving that were there, we definitely got some great numbers and some great gifts this year. The biggest gift again was that for the McVeigh Data Science building there. So so far so good on the fundraising side. And other updates, the quick one, then I'll end it here. We signed an agreement with CVG that they would take over the operations of the airport, and we wanted to use the space in sort of creative ways and so forth. And so CVG plans to come in and use it for kind of research ideas and so forth, and testing out kind of new areas in aviation and in airport operations. So it'll become a bit of a research place for them, a research arm to test things out. Not just flying, but that's probably a small component, but it's going to be more on the runway stuff and transferring different things and luggage and so forth. And what we have to wait on there is that, so we signed the agreements, and it still needs the final approval of the FAA. And so we're waiting on that. And CVG now is in the South region because they're on the other side of the river, even though it's Cincinnati on our side. And so we have two FAAs to work through. We have to work through the one in the South, which is in Memphis, and the one in the North, which is in Detroit. But we're very excited about that partnership, because whenever you talk about innovation, especially in airport innovation, CVG is always at the top of the list. And so it'll be great to pull them in. So that'll conclude my remarks for today, and I'll be glad to take any of your questions. And I really apologize for not being able to execute on my end to get this thing off and going quickly.
So Greg, Lee Fisher here. Good to see you again.
Hey Lee, how are you?
Good. With all of let me get back to something I read. I think a quote from maybe Jason Osborne back in the fall, that lack of in-person classes and having students on campus is going to cost the university like $80 million a term. What kind of budget hit overall? You've talked about a lot of programs that cost a lot of money, but I didn't see anything about the direct impact of COVID on university revenues. Do you have any idea what that is?
It's big. It's just and the way I can't give you like an exact number, but the big losses that last semester would come in on the auxiliary side, because if you're not in the dormitories, you're not paying those, and so that can run up and multiple millions per week. And so as you remember, last semester we had a shift because we had a big infection rate at the beginning, so we did not start. We started online on time, but we shifted the in-person back 5 weeks, so that was a big chunk. And so what the university did is what we did is that we talked to the board, and we're like, we cannot retrench right now and just not do our plan. And so the board supported us to move forward on that. Having said that, with those losses of revenue, which was coming in on the auxiliary side, we needed to do something different. So what we did is we looked at projects, we held projects, we skinnied down our budgets in a big way. And then we reprioritized everything that we were doing so that we could continue down that strategic path. But it's just depends on how you kind of count it up, because now you kind of lose a little bit here and then we repurpose over here. But now we're back on time this semester. We've had almost 4 weeks of very low infections, so we're keeping our fingers crossed. And also we have a lot of, we're up to 50% in-person classes. So
yeah,
it was tough last semester. And then we got some good dollars from the CARES Act. So
yeah, thanks for that.
Of course, I wish I had better numbers for you, but it's just slowing some spending down over there to do what is most strategic for us over here.
Other questions? Well, President Crawford, it is always a delight to have you come. You know, we've kind of gone into uncharted waters with online Zoom meetings. This is the highest, best attended meeting we have had to date. So,
I don't believe you.
I
I'm sure if you had Ted Pickerel speak, you'd get more people.
Well, thank you so much. We're putting a book in the Lane Public Library in honor of your talk with us today. Please come back anytime. We love to hear you, love to hear about the university. You are such a leading force in the area, not just in Butler County. It's wonderful the things that you and the university do. So thanks so much.
Well, it's great to see everyone. Take care. Have a great day and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay. Ted, thanks again. That's great. I don't think Nathan is on the call, so we'll not have an update there. Hey, Ralph, I talked a little bit about